Hey, hi everyone. Welcome back to this episode of Beyond Business Conversations. And today I have this awesome lady who is with me today, and I'm so happy and really happy to have her with me because I want her to share with you her story of her own transformational journey. So many people have been, focused on I want to find my niche. I want to find my niche. I cannot do anything until I find my niche. Check this woman out, man. She's going all over the way, all over the places just to find a niche, and she's now happy, and the journey is guaranteed satisfaction. So if you're new to my work, my name is Elise and I help spiritual entrepreneurs get over their money marketing mindset so that they can confidently charge what they're worth, serve more yummy clients, make good money consistently to live the rich life. So today is not about me, obviously it always is, but I'm just kidding. But today it's about Kristin. She's from Transformational Path. She's a mother doing her PhD, and gosh, she college teacher, and I'm so happy to find out from her that positive thinking is one of the college modules right now. So what? uh, You know, you learn geography, you learn history, you learn algebra, but so what? They're not really life skills. How is it serving you today, right? So this is going to be an exciting interview because I'm going to be grilling her on that topic as well and how we can change the education system. It's not just about paper chasing. So without further ado, let me warmly welcome Kristin.
Hi, it's so nice to be here. Thank you, Elise Ann.
Thank you, thank you. So tell us more about you.
What do you want to know?
Briefing. So
Okay,
let's just start from the beginning. Why do you do what you do?
so I am a transformational coach, and one of the reasons that I do what I do is to help people to transform their lives. I've met way too many people who are unhappy with the status quo, whether it's their job, their relationships, their money mindset, their financial status, whether it's parenting or just the day-to-day. So I do what I do because I want people to get better. I want people to live their best life and enjoy it and really live in the now, fully present, and enjoy every single day. And so I have a passion for helping people to change and transform their lives. So that's what I do. I do.
So has transformational coaching helped you? Obviously, we do what we do because of our own life experiences, right? So tell us before you were transformed, how was life for you? Because I know you also taught a little bit on the abusive substances like drugs and all that sort of good stuff. So how
Yeah.
did you get involved in that? Were you in that situation before?
No, so when I graduated with my master's degree in counseling, immediately they put you into an internship. So, or actually before. So I had an internship, and then my internship was complete, but they hired me on. And so through the internship, I worked with people who had domestic violence. I worked with both victim and perpetrators. I worked with people who had substance abuse problems, people who were drinking and driving, people who were addicts, and also after that process, I worked with people who had relationship issues and the depression, the anxiety, and that kind of stuff. But I didn't really want to stay there because it was a really negative environment. And so one of the things that I started to do was I started to teach my clients how to think differently. So I would tell them, your thoughts become things. So thoughts become your actions become your habits become your lifestyle, and then your lifestyle ends up becoming your destiny. If you don't change the first thing on that list, it's just like the domino effect. It's just going to become what the next step is. So I would tell them, change your thoughts. And then we started to do a lot of things in session. So I would have them watch The Secret because we did group therapy and things like that. And I would teach them time management, productivity, and how to really take charge of different situations. I also did anger management. And then I was also teaching college level courses at that time, which I told you. And that one college level course that I taught was on effectiveness. And at the same time, these students were also learning creative visualization and goal setting and interpersonal communication. So how to communicate with one another. And so I've even had clients come in for coaching, and they're having trouble communicating with their colleagues. They're not sure what to say. There's fear and doubt, right? So all of that stuff really relates to coaching so well. So I would take a lot of the issues that my students were having and that my clients were having, and I really kind of mushed them together initially, because all of the solutions came from transformational coaching. So really the habits, changing one's life, putting the art of the practice into place, and the mindset, and shifting the mindset. And then that's pretty much how I got to where I am. That's the short story, though.
So what was your own personal journey in transformational coaching? How has it changed you? And is it because of your own personal journey that inspired you to do what you do?
So yes. So I've always felt the need to help others. I mean, I always knew that I was going to be in a helping profession. Before I went into psychology, I wanted to be a doctor. So, and I just couldn't do the chemistry. So I just realized, well, what's for me? Well, everybody comes to me and asks me for help on their problems, so I'll go into psychology because clearly I'm already in the field. Mm-hmm. So then I got my bachelor's in psychology, and then it was just natural for me to go and do counseling. But how I fell into coaching was that I was always trying to make my own life better. And one of the other things that I have constantly dealt with in my life was weight. And I had done hypnotherapy, I had gone to coaching and counseling, and I would see social workers. And that's something I forgot to tell you. I actually had a surgery back in 2013, and that was another transformation that I went to because I've lost like 140 pounds. And so, yeah. So I've gone through so many transformations. Before I met my husband, I thought I'd never meet anyone, and then I had quit my job when I was offered another position overseas. And when I quit my job in counseling, it was literally like something opened up, because I met him the very next day. And I had been single for years, and I thought, well, I'm not going to meet anybody, so I'm going to go and get a job overseas. And I literally met him the next day. And I really believe that it was because the negativity in that job held me back. And so a lot of times people think that, oh, counseling helps people. Well, counseling does help people, but the counselors...
This is something juicy. So this is something juicy here I want to talk about, because a lot of women, I am also sure, are probably single. So we're talking about to the single women, not the married women. What if you're unhappy in your marriage? It applies to you as well. Right. So you told me that you let go of the negativity, and then boom, she showed up, right? And so many women out there are like, oh my God, where is he? Not the one. He's not the one. And then he's going on and on and on and on. So what sort of negativity are you talking about that they need to let go?
So, well, I believe mine came from my job, and it was that I wasn't happy in my life. And so when I knew that I was going somewhere else, it's hard to explain, because I literally felt like a dark cloud just lifted off of me. Because when you go and you work, and this I think is important for everybody to pay attention to. Pay attention to your environment. Who do you hang around? That's one of the most important things that I tell my clients is, are you hanging around positive people, or are you hanging around negative people? So if you have a bunch of people around you that are completely negative and not uplifting to, whether it's your spirit, your soul, your mind, your body, you're really stuck, because you're constantly cycling the thoughts that they're feeding to you. So if you're able to get out of that negative mindset, not just yourself, but if you're able to break free of whoever those people are, go to another office, or maybe even find a new job. I know that might be hard for people, but find a new job, because if it's that bad, you need to get out. And so I had, it was just a lot of lack of self-care for people. And that's why I think self-care is also so important for people, whether it's in coaching or in counseling, nursing, doctors, because if you don't take care of yourself, then you're not going to be able to let those blessings in. And so, and even at this time, I did not have a gratitude practice. So that's something that shifted. But when I say he came the next day, I think that I had been trying I had been writing I am statements. I had been writing positive affirmations and things like that. So I think that to some extent I had manifested him because I had also wrote down a list of qualities that I wanted. And I know that some people say don't do that. I think it works. I think it works phenomenally. But I also think that you have to be in alignment. And so when I say that I quit my job, I think that that was something that finally was the last thing that opened the door, that allowed the energy to flow. So that's kind of what I mean. And I think that if there are other women who are in that situation, like, where is he? Where is he? One thing that always helped me was he's spiritually, he's getting prepared for you. And
That's a good way to.
Yeah, because if I had met my husband when I wanted to meet him, he would not have been ready. Because he was actually had just come to this country in 2006. And so I wanted to meet him in 2006. And so from 2006 to 2009, I was like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And, you know, I'm ready. I'm ready. But it was that he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So what I like to tell women is it's not just you. You might be ready, but maybe that right one is not ready for you yet. And if you meet him at this time, it's not going to go as planned. And so if you just allow, right, the art of allowing, just allow yourself to have this time, work on you, and just trust in the guidance of the universe that everything will work out, and everything will.
And I think you talked about something that is interesting, like you had to let go of your job. And I think a lot of people know that the job, whatever, they have the inner feeling that, no, this is not serving me. This is not serving my highest good. But there's this fear of letting go. It's like, what if I let this go and something else happens is worse than this? It's just like women with partners who abuse them. They know it's bad, but yet they're unwilling to let it go because it's a comfort zone. It's something that they have experienced. What is life like this abusive partnership, relationship? What if it gets worse? So I think a lot of people think about, what if it gets worse? So I'm better off here because I'm used to it. I know what to expect.
Right.
Versus, like, you know, really stepping out. So I mean, being in an abusive relationship is a very dramatic example. But say simple things like the job, just a job. Like, talk about self-care as well. Self-care means being in an environment that totally serves you, right? And being in a job that does not serve you, it's not self-care. And simple things like leaving a job could be really scary as well. Do you have any advice for that? How did you manage to, like, put your, like, feet down, like, okay, this is it? Were there any fears? Were you scared?
It's so funny because I think my blog post for tomorrow is actually on taking calculated risks. So ironically, and I talk about leaving to go to Russia, and so many people tell me, because I worked abroad, so many people tell me, like, you weren't scared that you didn't know the language, you weren't afraid of not knowing anyone, and I was like, no, not at all. And it wasn't scary. Yes, it was change, but for me it was exhilarating and it was exciting. And so was I scared to leave my job? Yes. It was scary, but at the same time, I think change in general is scary for anyone. And as long as you can say, I trust that the next step is provided for me, and that you believe that everything will be okay, then you'll be okay. But if you continue to freak out and you go through that anxiety that, oh no, you know, I saw a post from someone today who said, like, I have $10 in my bank and da 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 da. But then they looked at all the positive things that they had, and it's like, yes, if you're able to do that, you're going to be fine. But if you are only looking at all of the things that you don't have, and you don't know what the next step is, then yes, it's pretty scary. But for me, I knew that I was going somewhere, and I knew that I was putting my stuff in storage, and I knew that they would pay for my plane ticket, and I knew that they would take care of my housing. So I didn't worry about it. And then the part about cultural differences, I know I'm different, but I think it's fantastic, and I love learning about new people, new places, new things, and I love to travel. So it wasn't scary at all. But I think that for somebody who maybe is not like that, it can be scary because change in general for a lot of people is very difficult.
Yeah, change is scary, right?
But if you get over the fear and do it anyway, it's, you know, just think about what can come of it. I think that there's that quote, what if I fall? Oh, my dear, what if you fly? Or so, I can't remember who says it, but, you know, what if you fly, right? So if you turn it and you create that mindset shift, then there's not the fear that you'll fall.
So
But so many people are focused on the fall.
right. So how do you not focus on the fall and overcome your fear? Do you have a specific strategy for that?
I think there's so many different ones because so many people have so many different fears. And I would say figure out what your fears are. Figure out what your doubts are, because sometimes fear is masked as doubt. And what is scary to you, and then flip it. So I always say flip the script. You know, so if you're going to say I'm afraid to lose my job, or I'm afraid to quit my job because I won't have any money coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you flip that to I'm going to quit my job and I will have money coming in, you'll find a way to either get another job or do something freelance so that money will come in.
Mm.
So it's not just about saying it, it's about finding a way. And so I think growing up, there were two things my mother always taught me. And my mother was not an entrepreneur, but two things that she taught me are if it's meant to be, it's up to me, and if there's a will, there's a way.
Mm.
So if you want to do something, you can do it, and there's a way to do it. You just have to get a little strategic about doing it. And so getting inside your mind, and that's where I use like the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich, right?
Mm.
Because he says if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to do it.
Yeah. So this is an interesting conversation now we have taken to, because a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs will just sit and I mean, I was one of them. I'll just assume that I just sit and open my business and boom, the clients show up, right? And then everybody talks about doing whatever it takes. You have to do whatever it takes. And I interviewed someone earlier on, not earlier on, but a couple of days ago, and he said he had no money, but because he made that decision, the odd jobs started to come in. And I think a lot of people have too much ego to do the odd jobs because I'm a coach. I'm supposed to do this, right? And when the odd jobs come in, they don't focus. They just like, okay, this is just too beneath me. I can't do this. So it's not about doing whatever it takes. They're just skipping the journey.
Right.
So what advice do you have to these people? Like, if you know, you said early on, like, if you want to meet Oprah, you just cannot just sit here and man, great, and just affirm all day long, I'm going to meet Oprah, right? You need to have strategic steps. And I think it's these strategic steps that put people off because it's how it makes them feel.
Right.
And then you said earlier on about just do it anyway. It's easy because we have conquered our fears and we know how it feels like. But to the people in the first stage, it's like, oh my gosh, this fear is this huge monster.
Yeah.
So, what was your own steps about doing whatever it takes? Did you have to do anything that seemed beneath you?
Yeah, and you know what? I did freelance writing for a while. I did ghostwriting. And every once in a while, if it suits me, I'll pick up a job. I don't do that as much now, but I did that a lot. And then I'm not teaching any college classes now, but if I want to, I can. And that doesn't pay me, you know. It's not equal to coaching, but I will say that it fills my soul, and I'm helping others, and I'm giving back, and so I'm giving my knowledge in those situations, and so those are other ways that I experience the journey. And so
was ghostwriting and the college teaching, was it something that it wasn't lighting you up, but you knew you had to do it anyway?
So college teaching, it's not completely lighting me up. No, I mean the No. But it's something that I know is important, not just for the purpose of doing it, but because there's so many people that have not heard using positive affirmations or changing your mindset or utilizing not just the law of attraction, but utilizing time management, productivity, avoiding procrastination. And a lot of these are the nitty-gritty stuff, but really getting out of your head and overcoming the fear and doubt. And so many students, interpersonal communication, I mean, that's another one. So many of these students really need a mentor or a guide to help them. So I do it occasionally, and I like it, and I get another form of energy out of it, and that is feeling good that I've helped someone else. And so that's why I continue to do it. So it doesn't, but it's sometimes it can be frustrating, especially if you have a student that really just doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But coaching, coaching, it really lights me up because I have so many clients that want to achieve that next level, and they're hungry for more, and you can see the changes that they're making, and so there is a really powerful engagement there, and so that's why I love it. But yeah, I did that on the side just to make ends meet until really my coaching picked up. And the other thing that I had to do was I've been active in a lot of groups online, and I tend not to ask for the sale online, and that's something that I'm breaking through and starting to do more often now. But another strategy that I had to do is, even though they weren't necessarily potential clients, I would go and introduce myself to people on the street. And I don't mean on the street. I mean like in the grocery store, at my son's school. I would go to the bank, and I would go to different places, and I would tell them what I did. And so maybe they couldn't afford me. Maybe they didn't need a coach. Maybe they didn't know what a coach was. But I would still introduce myself anyway, because that was where my fear was. And so I think a lot of people are afraid to put themselves out there. And so one of the things that I have done is put myself out there in multiple ways, and I continue to do that because that's a fear. Who wants to walk up to someone and say, "Hi, how are you?" Or in a bookstore, you see somebody in the self-help section, and you can just strike up a conversation. It's not a sales pitch. You're not asking for a discovery session. You're just saying, "Hey, how are you? I noticed that you were looking at that book. I've read it 100 times, By the way, I'm a coach. Here's my card. If you'd ever like to have a conversation, or if I can help or support you in any way." That's it. And so if they respond back, they could look at you like you're funny, but you've done it and you've busted through your own fear. And so you can go home and have a little mini victory, because that's where the fear lies. And I think that helps people open themselves up energetically as well, and allows more to come in because you broke through that fear.
And I think through that exercise, you also bust the belief of the fear of what other people will think of you, because it's really scary. And there's so many key takeaways for me right now after you said this. It's about, remember early on you said, he's not the right guy for you yet. But maybe we aren't the right person as well yet. So right. I always say, if you want to meet the right guy, make sure you are the right woman, and then the frequency, kind of like will match, and then boom, it happens. Right. So a lot of women focus on meeting the right guy. He's got to be right. Then what about yourself? So in the same way as an entrepreneur like yourself, you have gone through like the journey of the ghostwriting, the college teaching. So to actually get to where you are right now, to become the woman that you need to be for your clients. But I see so often new coaches, new entrepreneurs, they want to skip the step, right? Like years ago, I wanted to do business coaching, but I had nothing to show for it, nothing to teach. My mindset was zero. So I wasn't the woman that I needed to be for my clients right now, right? So it was that journey that took us through. And I think there has to be some sort of patience, because there is such a thing as divine timing and divine intervention, of course. And of course you could have it now, but it's what's holding you back is you and your belief system.
Yeah. And the either the lack of action steps, or not strategic action steps. So and you know, it could be like the fear and the doubt and stuff like that, but it could also be the lack of strategic action steps, or the fear. You know, I've met a couple new coaches that have actually a fear of coaching. So yeah, and so they might be great at marketing
Yeah,
themselves,
totally
but
understood.
they don't know exactly what to do when they get in session. And so, um, you know, I think that it's part of the journey. And I think that also so many people see online that people are making it and they're making it really fast. And I think that there's a preconceived notion that you can just become an overnight success. And I
Yeah,
think that um, to a certain extent you can. I mean, there has to be some work behind it, whether it's 3 months or 6 months, or but so many people think, okay, I'm just gonna do it and
yeah,
tomorrow I'm gonna be fantastic and people are just gonna come to me. And but what do you have? Like, it's not just people to know you, it's the personality and the pizzazz and the confidence. And that's another thing that that I think that coaches worry about, is really having the confidence to work with clients. And if you are doubtful about your abilities, then that's going to show through. And that's going to show through in your copy, that's going to show through in how you engage with clients. And so really having the confidence that you know what you're doing, no matter who comes to you, then that's important. And also the confidence to say, I don't think I can work with you because either you're not in my niche or I don't have expertise in that area. And being able to say, I'm sorry, I don't think we're a good fit, is also part of confidence. Because if you take on someone and you don't know what you're doing, watch out. Because, you know, you could be getting yourself in a lot of trouble. And so that, I think, is also part of confidence, is knowing who you are, standing in that power and owning it.
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with just failing or, um, finding out, hey, it's actually not what I want, like what you said. So
Right,
there's
right.
another key thing that I actually want to talk about is the difference between counseling and coaching. Because you actually went through the journey of counseling to realize that this is not what I want, and coaching is it. And I think a lot of people are confused. Well, who typically comes for counseling and who typically comes for um, coaching, and what
Coaching.
are the differences? Because you gave a very good example earlier on.
Yeah, there's so many differences, and counseling is clearly not coaching. And whenever I work with someone, I make sure I write that in my paperwork, because I am a licensed counselor. But if, for me, I'm just going to put that out there, if somebody works with me and they're having anxiety or depression or something like that, I will actually refer them to a counselor, because I don't mix my counseling with coaching, you know. And right now, this is my coaching practice. It's solely coaching. So counseling, the premise of it is mental disorders and health related. So it's usually diagnosable. So there's the diagnostic and statistical manual, which counselors go by. And so it is a heavily regulated field. And then you have, and I'm using my hand here. So people who come into counseling are usually like way down here, because they're feeling bad, they're having symptoms, and these symptoms are medical, right? So depression, anxiety, and those sorts of things. You could even have somebody who has a personality disorder or some severe mental disorder. And so they're coming to try to get to a baseline. And so when you have coaching clients already come in at a baseline and they're already functioning fine. They're not depressed, they're not having anxiety, and if they are, they get referred out to a counselor. But typically coaching clients come in at a baseline and then they're looking to level up their life, transform, really work on any issues that they may have, and move up. So counseling clients, they come in and they just want to get to baseline. And some don't even make it to baseline because it's really a lot of work for them, because they're down in the dumps. They might have trouble getting out of bed. They have panic attacks. So coaching clients are a lot more motivated. So when coaching clients come in, they're like, yes, I want to work. I'm going to do my homework. And when counseling clients come in, I would say 7 times out of 10, I would give them homework. And I would say, okay, next week we're going to work on your thoughts. Because a lot of the times, thoughts is something that is that we work on in both counseling and coaching. Different levels, though, different levels. But changing that negative thinking to positive thinking. But the counseling clients would come in, oh, I didn't get a chance to do my homework, and I forgot, or the dog ate my homework, whatever kind of excuse.
Okay, homework.
And they wouldn't do it. And so you're trying to help someone to make themselves better, and the energy is completely different. So for me anyway, I'm trying to help you get better here, but you really have to help yourself. And coaching clients, they come in and they're on the ball, they've done their homework because they're ready. They're ready to take that change. And even if counseling clients are ready to make that change, it's a lot harder for them to do it, just to kind of get to that baseline. And I've actually never worked with anyone who was depressed or trying to get up to baseline and then came over here. And I mean, it's when they're to baseline, either they stop therapy or they stop therapy before they get to baseline because they don't believe that they'll ever get there. So it's really a completely different experience. And so I really typically talk about it when I talk about baseline and going from bad to somewhat normal, and then from normal to awesome. From normal to awesome is where coaching clients want to go. Mm-hmm. And I want to help them get there because it is so much more exciting. It is very rewarding. And to see someone make astounding changes in their life and to say, oh my gosh, you helped me do this, that is amazing. It's really an amazing, rewarding feeling. I mean, I would love to help people get from down here to baseline too, but it's a lot more energetically for me to do that. It takes more, let's put it that way, and it's not as rewarding. So then there's a lot more self-care needed. As a counselor, I did a lot more self-care, Reiki, massages, energy work, than I do as a coach, because that energy exchange in coaching is really phenomenal. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as you speak about it now. I remember when I was a very new coach, I mixed up coaching with counseling, and I have this client who I think she's a bit on the depression side, but I wasn't mature enough to let her go, and I thought I could help her. So I think there's this concept of helping, and then you screw up your own energy, because it really takes a lot of effort to talk to someone who is down there.
Right.
It's just a different dynamics. And now as you're speaking, I'm thinking, why would people want to put themselves there? Because we have worked through our own shit, obviously, to get to where we are, and work on, obviously, so it's not that bad. It's just this initial phase that people need to get through, and that's the hardest, actually.
Right.
My question is, how do people identify what do they need? Do they need counseling or do they need coaching? So obviously, like, I tried selling self-love, right? And then nobody said, hey, I really don't love myself. So a drunkard would not admit he's drunk. So how would people identify? Because obviously both of us are emotionally mature enough or spiritually mature enough to know, I think we need to reach out for help. But when you're at that level, how do you know? I want to stress it's absolutely okay to reach out for help, but how do you actually know that you need help?
I'm going to give an example because I think that it really depends on the situation. So I had a client that came in one time. She thought she was depressed and she thought she had anxiety. And the root of the depression and anxiety was a relationship with her business partner, and it was not going well. And so as we kind of unfolded in that first session, I had her fill out my counseling paperwork. And in that first session, she said, we came to the conclusion that the reason that she was fighting with her business partner was because of her own time management and productivity skills. And because she was having some self-sabotage, and so she would feel guilt, and then she would feel depressed, and then she would withdraw. And so really, I said, I don't think this is depression at all. I think that this is more coaching than counseling. And if you do these steps, you're probably not going to feel this way, because the onset of how she was feeling came from her withdrawal, and it wasn't something that was going on for a long period of time, and it actually related to the business relationship. So in that case, I saw her for one more session and said, I really think you need coaching, so I'm going to have you fill out my other paperwork for coaching. And we're going to do coaching sessions, and we're not going to do counseling sessions. And she was cool with that, and she worked marvelously. I think that the key thing to know is whether they are really in a perpetual state of either sadness or anxiety or they're the disorders, if they have OCD or if they have clearly if there's some kind of personality stuff or if they're hearing voices or hallucinations, clearly that they need counseling. But if you
Okay.
have no
Got it.
serious, but if you're just trying to make your life better, then that's where you need coaching, because you need accountability. The other thing is that I know, and I was even myself this way, when I was doing counseling, there was a lot more fear of challenging the clients because you don't want to push them over the edge.
Right. Because they're so fragile, right?
Right. And so when you're coaching, you know that you're going to get challenged. So somebody comes in and says, I didn't do my homework. Why are you here? This is your money. This is your time. And if you're not doing the work, and so you can challenge someone and not feel afraid of them pushing back, because that's what they hired you for. Mm-hmm. They hired you to keep them accountable, to keep them responsible, and to get them where they want to go. So are you doing your affirmations? Are you setting your goals? Are you following through? Are you doing the action plans? Are you taking the steps to get to where you want to be? No. I don't believe in wasting time or money. And so when somebody works with me, I want to make sure that I get them to where they want to go. Yeah. And that I put in the effort and the time. If someone wants to email me after, or if, when we're on the phone, I'm there to challenge them and to really take them to the next level. I'm not there to play games or to just stash somebody's money in my pocket. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to help somebody really change their lives. And so thankfully, I would say 95% of the people that I've worked with have really been ready, prepared, and taken it to the next level. There's always that 5% that kind of slugs it off, but for the most part, it's people who are really ready to take their life to the next step, and that's good hard-earned money that they are putting into that life change. And so they're counting on you to say, okay, what are we doing here? And to really ask them the hard questions, to push them hard, and to get them where they want to be.
I think you mentioned something about the previous client, and I want to say something which is so important, that you shouldn't self-diagnose yourself. Like, you think you are going through a depression, and then you freak yourself out because you self-diagnose yourself, like, oh my God, I'm going to, but actually it's just a very simple shift that you need to do to get to where you want to be. So it's so important for you to talk to a professional. Because when you're in it, you can't see your blind spots. So the worst thing the worst thing basically you can do to yourself is to self-diagnose and to scare yourself and freak yourself.
I mean, you don't do that with the doctor. I mean, now we have like WebMD or something where you can say, oh my gosh, I go on there and it looks like I have cancer. No, you just have a stomach problem. That's it. And you go to the doctor and the doctor says, no, you're fine. So you don't diagnose yourself either. Call a professional. Get a 30-minute consultation. Tons of psychologists, mental health counselors, and marriage and family therapists, they have 30-minute consultations. You can talk to them about what your problem is, and they might say, yeah, come on in, and you might need 1 or 2 sessions, and then, it might not even be counseling that you need. It might be coaching that you need. But by taking that step and figuring that out, you can also call a coach and say, I think that I've been having this, but I'm not sure. I think that most coaches don't have the skill set. I think that that's why if you go to a counselor first and then go to a coach, if you go to a counselor coach, they can tell you right away. but that might be something that that a lot of people can kind of figure out, because if it's been going on for years, there's a lot of doctors that also prescribe medication, and so you may need talk therapy, you may need medication, but chances are if it's going on for a long period of time and it's not, the onset is with something specific, it's easy to say if your mom passed away and then you started having depression at the same time, it's most likely a situational depression. Yes, you'll probably need to go see a counselor, work through the grief, and then move on. So the same thing, right? If you're If you're going through a job loss, you can go to a counselor and talk about your job loss and your grief, but your counselor is not going to help you take strategic steps necessarily to help you get back on track. Your counselor is not going to challenge you. They're going to say, how do you feel? and so
Yeah.
how do you feel? And you know, as a client, you might say, it sucks, you know, and the counselor will say, tell me about that, you know. But your coach will say, all right, so what are you going to do? You know, yes, you lost your job, and yes, it sucks, and maybe you want to sleep on the couch and eat a thing of ice cream for a day, but let's, you know, where do you want to be?
Yeah.
Where are you going? And so that's the difference. Another difference in the counselor and the coach is the counselor is going to ask you how you feel. You're going to work out your feelings. You're going to work out your emotions, and you're going to break that down, and you're going to go deep. But a coach is not going to go deep. They're going to help you move forward.
Yeah. And this is such a good place to talk about, to identify self-care.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think, and it's also very interesting to think that most people focus so much on the negativity. Something happens, okay, I must be having cancer. Something happens, oh my God, I'm having a depression. And this is where your work comes in, thinking positive. Is that why you're so passionate about it?
Yes. I mean, I think that it's so important to think positive and to think what can go right instead of what can go wrong. Because our whole world, turn on the news, turn off the news actually, but there's so much that can go right. But we're so focused on what can go wrong because that's what the news hype is about. That's what makes the news headlines, is what can go wrong, right? And of course you'll see a story every once in a while, what can go right. There was a baby saved and pulled out of a hole or something, or there was a dog that was pulled out of a lake, a freezing lake. I mean, some of these stories are uplifting, but they're very few and far between. So we're conditioned, I think, to ask what can go wrong.
Yeah.
And I tend to think what can go right. And I know I'm talking about my blog post, but I wrote a blog post. I got a flat tire and I'm grateful. Here's why. I was grateful because it happened at my son's school. I was grateful because I could call somebody right away. So instead of thinking, oh crap, I got a flat tire, what else can go wrong? I was thinking, man, how awesome is this that it happened at the most opportune time, in the most opportune place. And because stuff is going to happen, right? Even if you use your mind and you think positively all day long, there are so many things outside of us that we don't have control over. And so there are things that are going to happen that we're not always going to understand, or that we're not always going to control. But what we can do is shift our perspective and think positively when those things do happen, and then look at, well, what went right in this situation? Even though it wasn't the best, what went right?
Yeah, totally.
So I think that also helps people to get to where they want to go and live their best life, because they're thinking, what could go right?
Exactly. So thank you so much, Kristin, for your time and your generous sharing. And I'm very sure that the viewers have learned something, and so did I. It's such a good reminder to think positively and to have the strategic actions and not just sit and of course, do not self-diagnose yourself. I mean, when I say self-diagnose, it doesn't mean just cancer or depression, just simple things like grief, like losing job, and if someone passed away and you're grieving, don't just straight away diagnose that, hey, I did something wrong with me. So go to a professional, because she knows what's best for you, and if she's not the one for you, she can definitely refer out. And this is the maturity as a coach, as a service provider. So thank you so much, Kristin, for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And tell us, where can we find you?
www.transformationalpath.com.
And obviously, she has her blog post coming up soon, so do check out the blog post, why she's grateful about her what flat tire.
So that was actually a past blog post about I got a flat tire and I'm grateful. But the one coming up tomorrow is taking calculated risks and thinking towards success. So taking risks anyway, and kind of busting through fear.
All right. So that's something that we all need to overcome, fear. So thank you so much, Kristin.
Thank you for having me, Elise.
Thank you.